we'll do with what we have.
All right, so we're on now. Amir, thanks for joining, man. Of
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, bro.
course, of course. So, as you know, I told you the purpose of this is to really have some insightful conversations going, ask you a few questions, really have a good dialogue and conversation going on together. So I'll just, jump straight to it. I wanted to know what your favorite movie is and why.
Okay. Okay, I like this question because the way I think about movies and entertainment now is much different than how I used to think about it maybe like a couple of years ago. And I've become much more aware that the type of media that we consume has a direct effect on our outlook, our feelings, our emotions, and the way that we perceive the world and perceive ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So now, where like before I used to, let's say, enjoy action movies and war movies and stuff like that, as I got older, I realized they're having like an impact on the way I feel and my emotions. So now I use movies and entertainment as a tool to, let's say, bring me up, bring me down, or like motivate me, make me feel a little bit better because everybody has off days, everybody has bad days.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, I would say I enjoy the less artistic and critically acclaimed movies of known as feel good movies now more than I did before. My favorite one recently could be Hector and the Search for Happiness because in that movie I don't know if you've seen it. It's not a huge movie, but it's a movie where Hector is a psychiatrist, and he's not content with his life. So he goes on a journey to China, to Africa, and tries to figure himself out. And at the end of it, he does, you know. And it shows the subconscious message within that movie is, listen, if you want to figure out happiness, if you want to figure out yourself, if you want to be stable, it's not this impossible task. It can be done, It's not this, you don't have to die. Like, you don't have to hang yourself like Bradley Cooper did in the end of Shallow, Like, I remember perfectly that video, that movie. At the end of it, I was just sitting there feeling like there's no way out, right? But this one, it gives you a much better uplifting message that, okay, if you want to figure out happiness, if you want to be content with yourself, if you want to find yourself, there's a way, and this guy did, right? So at the end of the day, whatever you believe is true for you. So I'd rather believe that, than the other one. Although I do enjoy other movies as well occasionally, but I'm more aware of the effects that they are having on me.
Interesting. And this movie that you talked
Yeah.
about, you said it's called Hector and the Pursuit of Happiness?
And the Search for Happiness, I believe.
Search for Happiness. Okay.
Yeah.
Because first I heard
Yeah.
Pursuit of Happiness and I was like, yeah, that's a good movie as well. I haven't watched this one. I've watched the other.
Yeah.
But okay, that's
Yeah.
so you said that you
Yeah. That one is also one of my favorites.
yeah, that's a good movie. That's definitely a good movie. So you said you don't watch as much critically acclaimed movies and now watch movies that make you feel better. Is that what you said?
Mm, Yeah, I used to be a film, let's say, lover, and I used to always watch old movies, new movies,
Yeah.
Western movies, any type of movies. And I used to look at it as a cinematic experience, less than the emotional and the let's say the story that it told. And then I realized because I go to the movies all the time, mostly alone, because I just want to like take the movie in.
Mhm.
And mostly I noticed, okay, these movies or even the music that I used to listen to, these movies are having an effect on how I'm feeling. So if that's a tool, if this is something that I can use, if this is something that's influencing how I feel and how I think about things, I can use it to my benefit as well. And let's say watch some more upbeat movies. I still watch those other movies, Oscar movies, uh, film noirs, any like French movies, anything like I enjoy those as well. But I now have a different perspective towards them. I look at them as a tool to like use, not just to entertain.
I see.
As a way you can, yeah.
That's actually interesting because yeah, certain movies and I mean art in general does have different effects on you. So when you want to look at it that way, then definitely
Yeah.
you do want to go towards ones that make you feel the way that you want it to make you feel. Although looking at it like that, it can also get a little dangerous in the sense that, all right, so am I going to only watch movies that make me feel good, or am I going to watch movies that, portray a certain reality that I didn't really know about, or a certain reality that I didn't really think about. All right, so
Yeah, absolutely.
that's interesting. So now,
Everything to a balance, right? So
yeah,
you gotta watch everything to a balance.
for sure. So next one I have is, what's your favorite book? What book do you recommend, actually, if you were to recommend one?
Okay, so um, for entertainment, I do a lot of reading, but mostly I read self-help books and books about philosophies and theories, not as much novels and books about let's say nonfiction and stuff like that. So my personal the book there are a couple of books I can recommend, but the one that really had a positive effect on my life is Inner Engineering by a Indian guru named Sadhguru,
Okay.
who's a yogi, and it talks about how you can engineer your inner self and you can engineer your inner being and basically take control of the demons or whatever, angels, whatever it is that's inside of you, both positive, both negative. You can you know engineer yourself the way you want to be, not just your physical body by going to the gym, for example, or not just your house, but you can engineer the way you feel inside and you can take control of it. This idea that I can figure something out and I can change it and I can influence it and I can control it is the most satisfying idea to me. That's why I feel like I'm attracted to sports, because I can figure out, okay, let's say, for example, in tennis, this is how you hit a forehand and this is how the ball goes and this is how it works. Just by understanding the laws and understanding, okay, this is certainty, this is what's going to happen, there's order in the world, I enjoy that. And when I found this book, it gave me that same sense of certainty and control in a realm which is almost impossible to control because we're not trained to control it, which is the mind and the internal body. So that was very appealing to me, and I feel like it could be maybe appealing to your readers as well, because it's a realm that your listeners, because it's a realm that we often don't spend as much time on, thinking about.
Inner Engineering. I have to check it out. It sounds interesting. I've heard about, I think you said.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Okay, oh, that's cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
I have like 6 in my room, so.
Oh, you have 6 of those books in your room.
I'm stocking up for the apocalypse.
Interesting. All right, so I'll definitely get a copy from you. So talking about books, okay, that's interesting. Now, if we move on to Ikigai, so what's your current Ikigai?
Okay, so this is something that when I was younger, I had a lot of concern about, because I was so concerned about finding that one true purpose that I have in life and, devoting myself and fulfilling that prophecy. And then as I grew older and I found myself a little bit more, I realized it's not as a fluid it's not as a concrete of a idea as you think. It's more fluid than you have to be, because the way that, and this goes back to my philosophy, where like I feel like each one of us have a role to play in this world and a puzzle, and we ultimately have to fulfill that role. And just like the mitochondria or a skin cell or a heart cell or any other type of cell has a role to fulfill, we as individuals and humans, we have a role to fulfill as well. We have a purpose to do as well. But I've noticed that we're much more like stem cells than regular cardiac or skin or whatever cells, and we have potential to do many things. It's not something that's written, and it's not something that's infinite forever. It's like that. So like it can shift, it can change over time. And I feel like right now in this stage of my life, my purpose is, what brings me joy, what brings me happiness, is to be a positive impact on my family, on my friends, be there for support. Nothing crazy out of this world. I don't want to be to turn humanity into a multi-planetary species. That's I'll let Elon Musk deal with that. Right now, I want to figure myself out, make sure I'm the best version of myself that I can be, and at the same time, offer as much as I can to friends, family, and people that are, around me. If I can do that, I feel like it sets me up well for when I do find a larger purpose, a greater purpose to do it. Because there's no rush. Like I feel like I was so rushed for a long time, and that brings with itself anxiety and stuff like that, and it just sets you back. I feel like when the time is right, what's supposed to happen will happen, and the pieces will fall into the right place. If you're willing, if you're active, if you're on the ball, it's so to say, you can take advantage of that, and you can fulfill your prophecies, basically.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you said that. I mean, a few things you mentioned, really good points. One is obviously, it's not something that's solid, that's fixed, that's static. It's very dynamic, it's very fluid, and it can change over time for sure. That's definitely true. And then the second thing that you said, if
Yeah.
if what you're doing is anxiety driven and you're always in a rush in order to figure out the next step, then you're not present enough to be able to actually focus on what it is that you're doing, the task at hand, or the situation at hand. So that's also definitely true.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's interesting. So serving those around you and being the best self that you can be. That's novel. Okay, so what new skills are you trying to
Yeah.
learn right now?
Oh, okay. So the biggest one, I love piano. I love piano so much.
Nice.
I'm trying to learn piano, but I've never had the talent for it because I remember I went to music class and I started off with the guitar, and after the first day they kicked me out because they're like, "Kid, you have so much energy, you can't even sit still for a second. You can't learn. Like just go and do sports." And I went and I did sports, and I enjoyed that, but I feel like playing like instruments, especially music, especially piano, is such an in the moment uh, instrument,
Yeah.
and it's so deep. Like you feel. I think it's the most complete instrument there, and it's difficult. But I think you can really get the emotions across. You can sit into let's say, a train station. I don't know if you've seen viral videos of people doing that. You
Yep.
can sit into a train station and connect with everybody from all over the world over a piece of music. No other instrument, I think, can do that to that extent. So that I'd have to say, learning to play the piano. Sure.
I definitely see eye to eye with you on that as well. I love playing the piano, even though I'm not a professional, but it feels really good when you're playing and you can actually connect your emotions to the keys and the sounds that come out. It's you can
Oh
definitely
yeah.
connect with it. I I see
Oh
what
yeah.
so
Absolutely. Piano and violin. I think these two instruments are the most emotionally connected instruments
piano and violin,
out
yeah.
there. Yeah, but violin is just insanely difficult. I don't think I can. We'll see down the road, but I think I'm going to start with piano and then we'll progress and see what
Okay.
happens.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Piano's cool. I never actually played the violin, so I'm not really entirely sure how you would even play it, but it is a beautiful sound that comes out of that instrument too. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so what are your biggest fears, or what is your biggest fear?
Biggest fears. Okay, I have to go back to my philosophy of let's say the piece of the puzzle theory. Let's say that you're a piece of the puzzle and you have to fulfill that for prophecy. I think each one of us has a certain potential that we have to fulfill in order for us to be our true self, our higher self, and be happy. Now, this could be in work, this could be in relationships, this could be in family life, this could be in taking care of yourself. You can, look at it in multiple different ways. But to me, wasting potential is one of my biggest fears, and not achieving and becoming. Not achieving is mostly used for work and stuff, but being the person that I'm supposed to be, the son, the father, the husband, whatever that I'm supposed to be. If I fail at that, that's one of the fears that I have. Is that I want to fulfill my potential, wherever that is. It doesn't matter if I'm Elon Musk level or Donald Trump level. I want to be whatever level it is. I want to fulfill it, and I want to be the best that I can be. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I don't want to wake up one day when I'm 40 and say, oh, I didn't do whatever because I felt bad. I didn't, let's say, wear the couple's Halloween costume because I thought it was dorky. You know what I mean? I want to enjoy any experience that I can at this age because I don't want to be 30 and stuck in 24. You know what I mean? I want to do it fully and I want to get over it and then I want to pass on to the next age, you know?
Interesting.
So to say, next level. Yeah, that's because we, you know, life is so short. Moments are so short. Right now I'm talking to you and this is finite. Tomorrow, I might not be talking to you over webcam. So now that I know this is going to end, it has so much more value for me. I'm going to, you know, be so much more intrigued to speak to you and connect to you and share ideas with you because I know that it's a finite thing. It's not infinite. And life is the same. So, you know, we were a blink of an eye, we were 18, graduating high school. Now all our friends are getting married, you know, like it passes by so quick and you don't even know what happened. So might as well do whatever you can to the fullest. Mm-hmm. And not have any regrets, you know.
Definitely, that's
not have any regrets.
That's beautiful, man. So wasted potential, that's one, and no regrets. And yeah, I see what you mean. That's also one of the things that I'm fearful about as well. Not in a way that it controls my life, but more in the way that I do want to make sure that I live up to the best person that I can be. And that's not necessarily something easy, you know. You gotta take responsibility. You gotta, you know, be courageous to make moves and do things that scare you, get out of your comfort zone. So all of this comes with that as well. So something that goes hand in hand actually with fear,
absolutely,
insecurities.
A word you said before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we're getting
okay. So before I answer the insecurities, absolutely, because all of these things they're connected. It's your paradigm. Like it's the way that you look at the world, and then you see, okay, it's your translation of every issue. It goes back to like how you feel about issues, and they're all connected. One really important thing, that beautiful thing that you said was the word responsibility. I want to just mention this again. Two things about responsibility. One, every person that you admire in your life, may it be whoever it is, Nelson Mandela, Thomas Edison, whoever you want to look up to, you look up to them because they took responsibility for their lives and the lives of others. We have a tendency to limit our responsibility because we think I'm already so like under pressure with the stuff that I'm doing. I'm so under pressure with my own responsibilities and my own life that I cannot take on more responsibility for my peer, for my neighbor, for my friend, for my family, and stuff like that. I think I want to challenge this word, and I want to say, let's say responsibility. Let's split it up. Responsibility, the ability to respond. That can be limitless. You can respond to everything. Doesn't mean you can be blamed for the results. It doesn't mean you are responsible for the result that they can get, but you can have a response to those things. You can connect with those things. There's no limits to the amount of response and the amount of connection you can have with your surroundings, even if it's a tree, even if it's a family member, even if it's a friend, even if it's a job. You can have that sense of interchange between these things and not be fully responsible for the results. Once you do that, the level of freedom and the level of connection and the level of, let's say, steadiness in your life, or I don't know what's a better word to use, the comfort in your life and the lack of stress goes away. You're much more in tune with nature, with people, with the life that's happening around you at all times. So this word responsibility is a really important word for me. And I feel like words can carry meanings. Words can carry, ideas. And just this idea that I've learned over the years has allowed me to make so many more connections, so many more friends, so many more, opportunities, and just, so much more comfort, so much more in tune with life, and that in itself helped me. Now, insecurities, Nobody's perfect. Okay, we're all. This is something that I feel like everybody has. There's nobody that has no insecurity about anything. So the way the way I look at it is that there's a devil, there's a demon, and that's in you. If you can change it, if you've tried, and if you've done whatever you think is right, to try to change that sense of insecurity or thing that brings you discomfort and you've been successful, good for you. Okay. But if you haven't, there's only one other way. Shake hands with the devil and walk right past them. Heck, run past them as far as you can, but don't hide it. Don't make it a don't make a big thing out of it, you know? Don't focus on it, because the more you focus on it, the more you make it, if you don't face it, it's going to become this huge thing in your mind, and it's going to go into your paradigm, and you're going to start to see it. When you focus on things, you're going to start to see it everywhere, and then you're going to be more sensitive to that specific thing, So of course, I have insecurities about a lot of things, and I guess how I deal with it, I just look it right in the eye and I say, okay, yeah, it is what it is. If it's discomfort, fine, bring it on. The more discomfort, the better. I'm strong, I can handle it, and then I'll move on. And a lot of times it does happen. And you feel in that, let's say, social setting, let's make an example, social setting or work setting, you feel that coming, and then there's two ways you can look at it. You can say, okay, this is making me nervous, or this is making me excited. I'm nervous because I can't handle it, or I'm excited because I can go and fight it. Let me go fight this demon, shake hands with it, and walk past it. And then if you change the definition of it in your mind, it changes everything. It all comes down to how you talk to yourself and how you label things that happen in your life and how your paradigm towards these things. The moment you change the meaning of it, I think you can overcome it. Doesn't have to be a huge thing.
That's a really good point, man. I mean, going back to the first thing that you talked about, responsibility, I like how you broke it down. The fact that it's your ability to be able to respond and connect with all the different entities that are around you, right? So, meanings and the way that you break things down in your own mind actually matter. They manifest themselves down the road in many different ways. It's the butterfly effect, right? And then the second thing that you mentioned on insecurity is shaking hands with the devil, walking, running past it. That's very important because, like you mentioned, if you think something too much and you internalize it, and you're integrating it as part of you, then eventually it's going to be part of you, and that's a big problem, right? Because you don't want that. I do that sometimes. I fall into that trap, especially with things that I'm insecure about. Which, to your point, it does help to think about it that way. Shake hands with the devil, accept it, and take it, head on, which is important.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Because there's no other. I haven't found another way. If you found it, please let me know. But I haven't found another way around it. It's just you gotta accept it and deal with it. There's no other.
Yeah. Accepting it and dealing with it. Yeah, acceptance is the first thing for sure. If you constantly deny it, that's when you're hurting yourself and your future.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, and I've noticed as we're getting older, our sense of awareness about ourselves and our surroundings and our peers is increasing. So you're more aware that, when I'm watching this movie, it's having this effect on me, for example, right? And you're more aware, this is how I'm feeling in a certain social setting. This is the insecurity that I have. And that moment of awareness, as soon as you recognize it, as soon as you identify it, you're halfway there. So just like you said, as soon as you notice it, and the only thing that matters is to identify it. Identifying it and acknowledging it. That's the word I was looking for. Acknowledging it, like you said, is the first step to it, and it's 50% of the results, I believe, too. Possibly more, I don't know.
Agreed.
Important.
Agreed. So, what are some red flags for you in relationships? It can be intimate, it can be friendships, business partnerships, whatever.
Okay, so the way I look at relationships, whatever it may be, is that it's more of a negotiation. You know, in any relationship, you expect something from your partner or your business partner or your friend, and you give something. You give and you get. There's no, you know, that's the simplest way to look at it. Now, let's use the example of romantic partners. I think romantic partners are some of the closest people you have in your life to the people that it's, I guess, it's family, best friends, and romantic partners, right? And the people that you spend most of your time with are often your partners. So I guess some of the things that I would look for is loyalty firstly, and loyalty I don't mean in the sense of let's say staying faithful in a relationship or something like that. In the sense that when you're in a relationship with someone, maybe a partner, maybe a business partner, maybe a family, I wouldn't want to constantly be working for their approval and their support. I feel like if I have a friend or if I have a partner, if I have a family member that I truly believe in and I truly understand and support and I'm there for them, they should do the same. If I feel like I'm not receiving that same level of support, then two things are happening. Either that person is untruthful, or two, I've overestimated the relationship that I have with that person. Right? So you got to be conscious of these things. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for making decisions in our lives. Because if we make good decisions, we reap the benefits, and if we make bad decisions, we feel the pain. So it's important that we take again responsibility for these decisions and make the decisions on ourselves. We don't need to let other people influence it. We don't need to let other people into our lives. We just got to see, okay, like if what are the factors that's for me? What are the factors that are important for me in a relationship? Mark those down and then go through them and see, okay, are these expectations that I have being fulfilled or not, being met or not? And that's it. And a lot of it comes back to, nobody's perfect. So just like you expect them to be understanding of you, you got to be understanding of your partners as well. So it's whatever it is, if it's business, if it's work, if it's friendships, you got to, be a little flexible, not too harsh. And it'll be okay.
So it is a two-way street, like you said. And I think if you're in a relationship where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, then you're in the right one, because then you also have synergy, right? Together
what a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, together you're stronger, and that's one of the hallmarks of a good relationship, I think. So definitely you're right there, in the sense that it is two ways. And if the energy or the input that you're providing is more than the output that you're getting, then that's not something you want to be in, right?
Absolutely. You cannot overstate the importance of a healthy and a positive romantic relationship, I believe. It's I think nowadays we look it over, we don't give it as much thought as we need to, but I think it's one of the main things that influence the way you feel about yourself, your confidence, and the way you feel supported to go and achieve things that you want to achieve and be the best person that you want to be. Because oftentimes, because of our own insecurities and whatever, we demand a lot from our partners and we put them down, and the same thing is happening to us. So I think one of the most important things is to have a healthy relationship where you understand your partner's goals and aspirations and the things that they require in life and things that they demand from you, and vice versa. They understand you, because then you can support your partner and you can support yourself in a healthy way, so that you can have a healthy relationship and reach those goals. Because you're spending the most amount of time, those are the people that you're most trying to keep happy, because ultimately deep down we all want to keep other people happy, right? Nobody can say I don't care what people think fully. If you are, then maybe you're not okay, you're not fully there. You know what I mean? You got, at a certain point, you gotta make other people happy, and you gotta clarify these things. You gotta actually spend some time on it and look into it, and I feel like it's one of the best investments you can make in your life, in the quality of your life, for sure.
Absolutely. And one thing on your comment about making people happy. So do you think it's more important to make people happy, or do you think it's more important to help them grow? because sometimes you you actually gotta you actually gotta help someone get through that pain, and maybe initially, they might not like certain things that you say or certain comments that you're making, but you're doing it with the intention that from your perspective you're seeing, I need to tell this person the truth so that they can, for example, grow.
Mhm.
What do you think about
Yeah, that's a great question. I really like this question because this is something that I spent a lot of time thinking about. When I first started studying myself, I started to notice so much of myself in other people. The more you understand yourself, the more you understand other people.
that?
And my first reaction was, oh, look at this amazing thing I learned. Come, let me teach you, even if you don't want to learn. Let me force it down your throat. And that it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So there's a fine line. To me, there's a fine line between forcing something onto somebody and helping them.
Yeah.
Because exactly like you said, when somebody's going through that pain, I'm here today because of the pains that I went through. Who am I to take away those pains from somebody else and stop them from growing? You know what I mean? For example, that's a very good friend of mine. I'm just going to use a simple example so that we can all understand it. I mean, we've all had experience with this. Went through a breakup recently, and she was very upset. She was, like you are, upset and down and questioning everything. And I could have done two things. I could have gone there, sat down, and said, "Yeah, the guy's a piece of, whatever. Talked bad things about him, and you're so amazing, and everything's so good." Or I could have just been there and supported her and said, "Listen, this is the pain. This is life. This is reality. You just gotta, deal with it." I can't take away someone's pain, but I can be there to the extent that I can be. And of course, just by being there, I'm doing my thing, and the pain is going to be reduced, and the hardship's going to be over, right? It's going to be less, but I can't erase the breakup. I'm saying, okay, for example, the breakup is here. We're going to go through it fully, feel all the pain, and I'm holding your hand right here with you, feeling the pain with you. But I'm not going to take away your right to have pain, because that with life is like waves. It goes up, it goes down. Once you go up this wave, you feel bad, you feel good, you feel bad, you feel good. You start to understand, oh, this is a wave.
Yeah.
Before understanding the wave, the water's just crashing on you. Now that you see it and acknowledge it, now you can start surfing, right? Next time it won't be as bad. So yeah, I think it's a really good point. And I made the mistake early on, a couple of years ago, of trying to share wisdom with my peers and my friends, and what's true for me might not be true for them. And if I believe deep down, if there is a need for me to help somebody, the universe will set it up without me even knowing. So uh, I'm open to it. I'm responsible to people, and if I'm going to offer what I can, but I'm not going to go after people and force them, because
Yeah.
they won't understand. And
For
yeah,
sure. And this example that you gave, it's interesting because I was writing about this yesterday. Sometimes I fall into the trap that in a similar situation that you mentioned, your friend is going through a breakup. I sit down and console people with the aim of just, making them feel good, for example. But then I realized, don't, if you're a good friend, you don't have to make someone or your friend feel good when they're feeling bad. What you need to do is listen, understand, and empathize with them. You know, if you really want to help, if there is a situation where you've been through that's similar to theirs, you can talk about it so that they
yeah,
know that, you understand their pain, because that obviously helps. But, don't go in saying, oh, I went through this as well, with the intention of taking away from their pain, because regardless, they're in pain, right? And what you need to do is listen and empathize and understand.
yeah,
Not necessarily to make them feel good. And that's what I did, or sometimes do still. I need to be conscious of it.
yeah. Absolutely, we all do that. I've done that multiple times, countless times. That's the natural way. We're human. We're empathetic people. Like our natural response is to,
Yeah,
it's not that bad. Let me take some of that pain. Let's make it stop, right? But sometimes pains are growing pains. Without the pain, you can't grow. So
definitely. Agreed.
yeah,
So if you could have lunch with or dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
I've been asked this question before, and oftentimes I was like, okay, let me give like a nice answer, like Nelson Mandela,
Yeah, yeah.
make it seem cool. But I've realized it's not as far fetched as you think. Like Nelson Mandela is not much different than a professor that you really look up to and was really nice and nice to you and was successful in his own way, right?
Yeah.
It's the agents of success and the agents of responsibility and the agents of well-being are universal. It's the same with Nelson Mandela and other people. So one person, to answer your question, one person that I really look up to is Roger Federer, because I play tennis.
Okay.
And to me, Roger Federer or Tiger Woods or people that are at that level have found the secret to perfection, or have become their true higher self. And I think anybody can achieve that in their own right. Maybe it's not tennis for you, maybe it's not golf for you, maybe it's something else, but you can achieve that, and the agents for success are universal. So it's not, nobody flipped the coin and said Roger Federer is going to be the greatest player of all time, Tiger Woods is going to be the GOAT for golf. Nobody flipped the coin. There are fundamental rules and laws of success, of how you think, how you behave, how you look at the world, what your paradigm is, and how much energy and effort you put into it, that determine your results. So I feel like just when you're around these people, you can exchange vibes, you can exchange energies, you can just look at them and learn by using a higher faculty, by using the faculty of devotion, not just intelligence, just by looking at them, how they feel, how they conduct, how they sit, how they speak. These things, you can connect with them and you can go into their minds on a much deeper level than you could just by reading a book or just by watching a biography or just by doing that. So I think Roger Federer is somebody that took a lot of responsibility of his own life and life of others around him. And to me, he's a good example of success, and somebody that's a good, as we see from the outside, a good husband, a good father, a good player, a good philanthropist, investor, businessman, everything, together. So I would probably say Federer.
I like the answer, and I like how you said the agents of success all have or all share similar patterns and similar principles, because that's very important. None of these happen by chance, and it goes back to a lot of fundamental principles across so many different industries and sports and different people, and so I really like that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So what do you think is the most important invention of the 21st century, other than the internet? Because that's not really new
Oh, that's the easy answer. Huh? The
anymore.
shortcut is the internet.
Yeah, the
Because
internet. That's the easy one.
yeah, honestly, the internet is very, like you said, I guess it's a little bit older, but I would say the iPhone, the
iPhone.
mobile phone. And I think a lot of people will give the same answer. I hope because it's the right answer. I don't know, but to me, I feel like, and not just the iPhone, but what the iPhone represents, which is connectivity, which is interactions, which is enabling us to perform at a much higher level than we were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And I think we've seen a lot of things. Look at now in the coronavirus times where a lot of us are working from home. We couldn't have done that with SARS. With SARS, we had to go to work. With SARS, we couldn't stay at home, and we couldn't take these precautions. And we oftentimes now we're taking these precautions, and we're working from home, and we're connecting with friends, and we're doing, the things that we need to do remotely in a much more responsible way than we could have done before. So I think that's definitely, of course, the internet obviously plays a role in that as well, but
No,
it's as original as I could get without saying internet.
iPhone definitely did cause a dent for sure, and now you can see the results. Most
Absolutely.
people have iPhones, and the capabilities that it has, and the way that we can connect to other people who are not with us. I mean, that's unprecedented, right? Interesting. So
Absolutely.
leading to that, what about the future excites you?
The future. I spend a lot of time thinking about the future, and I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty now, which has always been there. You can't, as far back as you go, we were always scared of robots taking our jobs and the Cold War and the world ending, so on and so forth. So I think this uncertainty is nothing new. Uh, but I feel like I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the whole thing. I feel like two things can change. One, AI can develop and help us greatly into achieving our best uh, things that we can do, our best potential, achieving our potential, things that we can accomplish, improving our lives to a great degree. And secondly, I feel like we can use alternate sources of energy, apart from fossil fuels and nuclear energy and so on and so forth, to create a much more sustainable living situation for ourselves. Because right now, I don't think it's as sustainable as it could be. I don't think it's as bad as most people think it is. I don't think we're all going to die soon, but I think there's much better ways to do it, and we can achieve anything with technology. So I think that should be one of the things that. Unfortunately, to be honest, to be completely frank, I feel like we've had technology way before to achieve renewable sources of energy, and it's just big businesses have blocked the way for that happening. But I feel like we can win. I hope that we can win in the future, and we can make a change and not be, not lose to corporate America and corporate world like we have.
Yeah, and we're losing America right now with all that's going on too.
Oh, yeah.
It's going down. But
Yeah.
you mentioned an interesting point. I to your point, I want to recommend reading 21 Lessons for the 21st Century if you haven't. It's an interesting book. It talks a lot
I've
about.
heard about the book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Yuval Noah Harari. He's the same author who wrote *Sapiens* as well. *Sapiens*, *Homo Deus*, and then the third one is *21 Lessons for 21st*.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 I think exactly our mutual friend Kurosh. I was talking with Kurosh the other day, and in the car he was playing the audiobook, and it was really interesting to me, and he recommended it as well. I feel like Reza Kurosh would be an amazing guest for your show. He's got a lot of original ideas.
Interesting. Kurosh Movahedi, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's got a lot of big thinker, that guy. Big thinker.
Interesting. I actually saw him last week. Funny enough, I should talk to him. Get him
Yeah,
on the podcast. Have one episode together.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. I think
Okay.
he'd get it. Yes.
So do you have? So we're done. The 10 questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, that quick. Actually, I do. This question came up when we were at a bar last night, and
Okay.
somebody brought this up, and I thought, what an interesting question, what a great question. And they asked, if you could change one thing that's a taboo in our culture today, in our society today, what would it be?
One thing that's a taboo. What would I change? Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. For example, one of my good friends mentioned that she would change. When you're drinking, let's say bubble tea, and you get to the bottom of your drink, and you're using the straw, and it makes that noise. It makes that slurping noise.
Yeah.
She said she would change that to be acceptable, for example. So it could be or another one of my friends mentioned she would change the fact that women are not approaching for proposals, and she would allow women to, let's say, go for the proposal and make marriage proposal or friendship proposals, which is the norm is obviously men doing that, right? Proposing and getting married. So it could be
As
your answer
simple
could
as
be
that.
as
I you know
fun as that or as serious as the other one.
I would one thing that's a taboo right now is really um, talking about the things that are on your mind, and the things that you do want to talk about, but because of societal expectations or because of fear of judgment, you don't necessarily say them. And then they just die inside you. You know, you either become resentful because you weren't able to, or weren't able to express it, or you know, they just die down and they go to nothing. So I think being able to express what's on your mind, regardless of the differences that people have, because it's basically opinions, right? And right now, different people have different opinions, but most people are very closed when it comes to accepting or at least acknowledging opinions or points of view that are very different from theirs. So if this went away, we would at least be able to
Yeah,
speak and
that's
communicate
right.
in harmony, you know? So I think that that would be what I would remove.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good answer. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the one thing that's holding us back, and that's the one reason loneliness is such a big issue now in the 21st century, where we have all these sources of connection to connect, all these instruments of connection, and yet we have we're the most lonely generation. I think that's one of the most important. If somebody can solve that, I would have a lot of respect for them.
Well, I mean, it's something that is not just like one person. You know, I think we should all collectively move towards that because, like you mentioned as well, you know, we have so many different stimuli, you know, and so many technologies and so many people that we
Yeah,
see every day, but we still feel lonely. Why is that? Is because we don't necessarily feel understood, and how can you feel understood is by understanding. To begin
absolutely.
with,
Yeah,
you know, if you listen to people and if you understand them, then in return
yeah.
they're going to lower their guards down and be able to understand you as well. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that connection can happen. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, anyways, that's the 11 questions, man. I want to
Fantastic.
I want to thank you for coming on. You know, right after work as well, and
Yeah,
hopping on
no
the show.
problem. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I enjoyed it very much. Hopefully, we can do this again soon.
For sure, Amir. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.